Welcome to the YouTube Creators Hub podcast, where we help you conquer the internet one video at a time. We cover everything from how to start a YouTube channel to how to make a video go viral. And now, here's your host, the one and only Dusty Porter.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the YouTube Creators Hub podcast. My name is Dusty Porter, the host of this wonderful show. Would like to let you guys know, if you haven't already and you're looking to improve your YouTube presence, your online video presence, and basically your YouTube channel as a whole, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast over on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, wherever you consume your podcasting content. Also want to give a shout out this week to, I believe the name is Hopper Bandit, says over on iTunes, Dusty, I'm really enjoying your podcast. I find them informative, inspiring, and so entertaining. Great job. As far as the adpocalypse, I'm a small creator. I make a stop-motion DC comic series with my kids and some other actors in the Orlando, Florida area, and I do it because I love it. However, I am branching out with a very new channel, more of a how-to channel. So this means I have to start from scratch. I think the 10,000 views is a great thing for YouTube to do. You are right. It's totally obtainable. Creators should think of it as part of their business plan. First get the 10K views and then move from there, and so on. I personally am looking forward to the feeling of accomplishment when I get 10,000 views on my new channel. It'll just make me work that much harder. Thank you again for your insight, and looking forward to anything else you can do and share with us. Cheers, a father and son stop motion. Thank you guys so much. What a raving review, and just what an awesome story. Maybe one day soon when you get that channel to 10K views, we'll have you on the podcast. I would love to do that. What a great story that would be. And again, if you haven't listened to last week's episode, it was a good one, and I got a lot of feedback from it, so definitely go back and listen to episode 63 if you haven't already. So without forgetting, because this is a very important part of the show, I would like to let you guys know that this show, as always, is brought to you by the fine folks over at TUBEBUDDY. If you don't know what TubeBuddy is, it is a free browser plugin that it can help you take your YouTube channel to the next level. I have been using a feature that I really haven't used in TubeBuddy this week. It's called the A/B testing feature. It allows you to put two different thumbnails on a video and shows them to the same amount of viewers or search results, and allows you to see which one performs better. And that way you can choose the thumbnail that's performing better in the first 24 to 48 hours. So that's just one of the many wonderful features that TubeBuddy provides to us as creators. Phil and the team over there are always doing some fantastic things. I do another podcast with them called TubeBuddy Express. It's about online video just like this one, but it's not an interview-based show. It's a 10 to 12-minute actionable tip that I give you every week, every Friday. I'm already up to like 40 some odd episodes, where basically I just spill out what I'm thinking that week as far as a tip to help you grow your YouTube channel and your online video presence. So without any more house cleaning, I would like to thank everyone listening to the show. We're continuing to grow, which is just amazing to me as we get thousands and thousands of downloads every day. And I'm also putting up, I'm going through what I call a trial, something I'm going to do for the next couple of months and see how it improves or the effects that it has on my YouTube channel. If you don't know, my YouTube channel is called Technology Guru. It's all how-to based. It's all tutorial based. But something that I'm going to do after talking to a YouTube staffer a couple of weeks ago is that I'm going to upload 5 days a week. I'm going to upload a tutorial every day, Monday through Friday, and see what impact it has on my channel. I did this last week, and I've done it up to the point of today recording this on Wednesday. And I'm going to see, because I really believe with the new algorithms, uploading it more frequently may actually have a positive impact on your channel. So stick around for that, as I will have the results in a couple of months, maybe at the end of June, and see if I can keep this pace up. Consistency and persistency definitely is the thing as a creator you need to stick to. So without any more rambling on from me, let's go ahead and jump into this week's conversation. Hey guys, I came back and recorded this after I finished editing the podcast for this week as an addition or an addendum, whatever you want to call it. There are some times in content creation, whether it be podcasting or online video, where you produce something and you're just so proud of it, and something special happens, especially when you're doing interviews and live interviews. And I just wanted to say that in this week's episode, it goes deeper than just content creation, than just video, helping you with your YouTube channel. I think there's so much more there this week. Scott and Nate, who you're about to hear, we're about to go into their interview here in a few seconds, but there was something special about this this episode. And sometimes that happens. You get done with something and you listen to it back or you watch it back and you realize, man, I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I have that to go back on now. And I really think if you've ever listened to an episode or you've ever shared an episode of this podcast, I think this may be the one. I've had every guest I've had on has been amazing and valuable, but these two guys, the father and son duo that you're about to hear from today, I really think you guys, it's something special. So I hope you guys enjoyed it are going to enjoy it as much as I did doing it. And so I'm going to stop now and get into the conversation. All right, guys, here we are back again, the conversation portion of this week's episode. I am so excited today to be joined by the father and son duo that make up the Essential Craftsman YouTube channel. They've surpassed 63,000 some odd subscribers, over 4 million video views, and they've just joined and started YouTube back in January of 2016. Their channel is related to blacksmithing, general construction, safety, and productivity, and various other trades. And as I mentioned before, the show features Scott Wadsworth, who is the father in this duo, and then the channel is produced by his son Nate, who both of them do this as a side venture. Nate works primarily in real estate, and his dad Scott works, coming off a construction career. So guys, how are y'all doing today?
Dusty, we're doing great. Good morning, and it's just a real pleasure to be here. It's something that we never saw coming, and I'm excited.
Nate, how about you? How are you doing today?
Just fine. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, guys, the first thing I want to talk about today is for your channel, specifically the Essential Craftsman channel, is this. Let's talk about the birth of the channel. Nate, I want to talk to you first, and then we'll talk to your dad about this. But the birth of the channel, like, how did it come to be? Like, were you at a family gathering one day and you said, "Hey, Dad, would you like to do this YouTube thing?" Or like, how did this whole channel start?
I think I was actually home for Christmas. My dad's shop, if you have watched any videos, and the viewers will all see right away, he has a really interesting shop packed full of neat tools, and it's just kind of a neat place. And he always has people stopping in. I mean, friends and just all kinds of people come almost to hang out. And at least for me, I remember sort of thinking, man, I bet you there'd be more people who'd want to see, or obviously a lot of people like to see this. So we kind of just did it. We threw one up for fun just to kind of, show a couple of the neat tools that he had, and it kind of grew from there.
I love it. And then Scott, on your end, how has this been for you? Like, you mentioned to me off air that your son Nate obviously does most of the producing and the digital side of things as far as the technical side of things. But on your end, how has this been for you that this channel has kind of started and grown to the size that it is now?
So that's a great question. This is, in my whole life, this is the most profound example of being utterly unable to tell what's coming. None of us can tell what's in the future, and nowhere is this more graphically illustrated than this. I would have never imagined, never conceived just a few years ago that the internet, and particularly sort of an educational entertainment role to a lot of people, was in my future. And when I kind of opened my mind to listening to Nate about the possibilities, and then he made that video, and it was cool and it was gratifying and some people liked it, it was just sort of a paradigm shift for me that was completely off the radar. My wife and I, frankly, are still reeling. It's awesome.
So a lot of y'all stuff is informational, and this is coming from a guy, Scott and Nate, who is my wife calls me that I am the last person you want working on anything handy. I can fix your computer, I can fix any internet problem you may be having, but you put a hammer and a screwdriver in my hand and I can be dangerous. And that's just kind of where I'm at right now. But I would like to know, Scott, like, you being in these videos now, you are obviously the center point, the feature of these videos, and some of these videos are getting hundreds of thousands of views. What has this done for you as putting yourself out there now on the internet? Like, what have you noticed about, now that your face is all over the internet on these videos?
Oh, that's, boy. So I've spent a lot of time thinking about that. And so I guess the quickest answer to this is, I've got a wonderful wife, okay? Mrs. Essential Craftsman is spectacular. And if there was any danger of this tweaking my ego or beginning to sort of shift my self-esteem out of proportion, she is very reliable to keep my ego balloon popped a little bit, and frankly, it's it's useful because it's easy. I can see moving forward to begin to believe what the people are saying, and that would be a mistake. It's just neat to be able to convey things to people that I feel like they value. And I'm going to try hard to leave it at that.
Yeah, I love that word neat. Like, that's what I tell my wife, too. Like, when I'm doing stuff and someone may recognize my voice when I'm out somewhere or whatever it may be, I do a lot of local radio around here. It is easy to put yourself up on that pedestal and say to yourself, well, hey, I'm in videos and people know who I am. But, Nate, I want to ask you this question now. What experience did you have going into this as far as video editing and video production, and as far as like, how did you get to the point to where you are now, to where the videos that I've watched recently of your channel is very well produced and very slick?
Well, I had zero experience. I had made a couple photograph slideshows over the years for, documenting family vacations and such, but I didn't have any experience or know anything about film or video editing. Our first, few dozen videos were all just done with an iPhone. We still just do all of the editing in iMovie. It's kind of, I think, the simplest and easiest way. And so I don't know. I just kind of jumped in, and, I guess being a millennial, I can figure some software out, easier than some people. And iMovie's not difficult. And I've gotten better, and I feel like I've learned quite a bit. But still have a lot to learn there, but it's I would say it's something anybody can learn. You just have to kind of dig in and just kind of get your feet wet.
Let me just step in on that a little bit. So Nathan has always had a strong art impulse. Okay. I mean, when we were playing Pictionary around the dining room table as a family, that kid could draw, and he could represent the ideas quickly and with a minimum in a short period of time. And I think he's also a musician. And I think that is kind of part of the advantage that he brings to our partnership, because clearly filmmaking is an art form, and it's kind of like a duck in water. I mean, he hit the water and he's swimming. It's really neat.
I love that. And just as a side note, I think it is really amazing that you guys, as a son and a father, are able to spend some time together doing something that you both love, working on a project that you guys want to see move forward. I just think that's so cool. Coming from a guy who just recently had my first child a couple of years ago, my daughter Macy, I hope that one day she wants to do something like this with me when she reaches Nate's age, and the internet allows us to do that, even if we're not living in the same county or even state. Which I think is just such an amazing element. And I definitely want to touch on that later on in the interview. But Nate, I did want to ask you, what do you think that says about people who are out there who are listening to this, and they may think to themselves, well, I really don't have any experience video editing, or I'm a little scared to get into it. How easy do you think it is now with all of the tools available to us as creators, as artists, as Scott said? How easy do you think it is to get into this?
Oh, it's amazing how easy it is. We all are carrying these really nice cameras in our pockets, and you don't even, if you aren't comfortable editing, you don't really even have to. You can kind of film things in one shot, and there's a lot of people who've made really big channels and big videos almost with zero editing. And so there's really no barrier to entry at all. Obviously a smartphone's plenty, and if you are a little bit, brave, and a person just opens up that software, I think probably most computers come with some sort of native video editing software. If you just open it up, it's really not difficult. And obviously we use YouTube for a lot of things, and I use it when I have questions on how to do things. And if anybody really wanted to, it's just not that tough. You could learn it and you could figure it out. And they're all designed to be very intuitive, and I would really recommend somebody just kind of start, just try it, and you'll be amazed how quickly you'll pick it up.
So before I hopped on the interview with you guys, I used the TubeBuddy tool to look at your guys' channel. They call it Channelytics, basically the analytics for your channel. And in the past month, I mean, you guys are growing at an astronomical rate. I mean, TubeBuddy obviously may not be exact, but, getting over 20,000 some odd subscribers, just in the past month. What do you think you guys have done to hit the sweet spot to be growing at such a rapid pace? Scott, what do you think that is that's taking you guys to that next level?
So that's a great question, but it puts me in the awkward position of kind of tooting my own horn. And that's, but I guess the straight story on that is, number one, we're authentic. We intend to be authentic. If we don't do it, we don't talk about it. And I think people recognize that. Number two, I've got 40 years doing this stuff, and so I have some things to say. But I mean, lots of guys have things to say. Okay, I think the fact that we insist on keeping this family friendly, we insist on making this channel something that you can sit down with your 6-year-old and watch and let them learn something about carpentry or welding or fill in the blank safely. I think, and then the fact that Nate makes them interesting. He keeps the pace moving in the video. It draws your attention and holds it there. I think those are 3 of the big components.
And Nate, how much of it do you think it is that your dad is just relatable? That when someone goes and watches those videos, a lot of people who are going to watch this type of video in the genre and the niche that you guys are in, they see that and they're just like your dad. Like they can just relate so much to who Scott is as a person.
Yeah, it's really a big part of it. People just, there's a lot of craftsmen and a lot of contractors and such, but there's not a lot who are able to teach and present and relate the information in a way that's entertaining and understandable. So that is clearly a part of what's making the channel grow. We still try to just make everything as high quality as we can, and by quality I don't mean the quality of the audio or video, which is not the best, but in terms of the information we present, and like my dad mentioned, we try to keep the pace going. We try not to waste time talking about things we try to give people what it is they came to the video for right away. And I think we're kind of learning our videos are educational videos, but I think the people are actually there more for the entertainment than the education. I don't think there's a lot of people who are there just to learn what it is we're talking about. A good number of our viewers are there just because they kind of like, seeing something new and being entertained by the education. So it's definitely a combination, but my dad really has a special gift of communicating and presenting and being engaging in a relatable way. It's makes for a pretty neat, a neat host, and people must like it because it is growing.
Yeah, and I think that, Nate, you mentioned 2 really good points there. The first one is to get to the point. Get to the point. If you're doing an informational or a how-to video, get to the point and don't beat around the bush, and I think you guys do a great job. But I think you guys have the perfect mix of informational and entertainment. And I call that infotainment is what I call it. But I think you guys have such a fantastic collaboration. I'm not trying to toot your guys' horn too much, but when I come across a channel and I look at the analytics of what you guys are doing, and you only have just over 40 videos published, so it's not like you have hundreds or thousands of videos out there, but you're getting thousands of subscribers a month, and the views are just racking up for you guys. So something that you guys have stumbled on is really working. And I just think that the positivity of the videos, and what I found with my content, Scott, is that when I do a piece of content and put it out there, I want it to be positive. I want young people to be able to listen to it. I want older people to be able to listen to it. We get enough negativity in today's society with politics and news and everything going on around us. When we go and we want to escape on YouTube, we want to be able to smile and to be able to laugh. And how important do you think it is, Scott, that when you put out a piece of content that not only are you relatable, but you're able to let that person escape for a brief moment as they consume your content?
I don't know that I'd thought that through, but I think you're spot on, Dusty. Something that I have thought through is around what you're talking about, and that is that there is so much in our culture that tries to tear us apart and tries to divide us and tries to polarize us and push us to opposite sides of the room. And I think craftsmanship and making things and the impulse to create is something that can unite everybody. And my hope is that I can convey that in a way that will sort of overpower the aspects of my political and religious perspectives that might ostracize some people. I'm hoping that just the unifying message of go out and make something beautiful consistently will give people something that they need, whether they know it or not.
I love that. And I love that you guys have a message and a purpose, and you know what your target audience is, who your avatar is, and you're really good about getting to the point and getting to that person and giving them what they're coming to your channel for. Now, let's talk about some actionable tips, some strategies, some things that you guys have done that you think have helped you get to the point that you are now. Obviously, Nate, let's talk about what you do. What on your end are you doing to help your content get out there? Obviously, you're doing the producing, you're doing the editing, doing all of that good stuff, and your dad's the actor, in front of the camera. But what are you doing, Nate, to ensure that your content's getting out there and that you're growing your YouTube channel?
Well, I've been listening to this podcast and every other podcast and informational source I can to learn about how YouTube works. And so I would say the basics, the things that I've learned here, we try to put content out regularly. We try, like I mentioned before, we try to keep the quality as high as possible. We've improved our camera recently, trying to make the videos look and sound better. Most of all, I would say the biggest thing we're doing is just trying to stick with it. We are still really small, and we don't know where the channel will go, but there's only one way to find out. So I would say we're really just trying to keep our head down, not worry about other things, even things like monetizing it and all of the other business side things at this point. And for this year, our goal is just make as many great videos as we can and just kind of focus there. And that's what we've really been doing, and it seems to be working. So really, we're just trying to keep doing what has gotten us this far, I would say, and release quality content on a regular basis.
Scott, what do you think on that point? Like, what do you think? What have you seen, even though you're not on the technical side of it per se, what have you seen that you guys have done to help you guys continue to grow? Like, if there's someone listening to this right now, what would you tell them, and what would you say to them as a creator? Here's what you can do to help grow your channel from because you guys are rather new.
Yeah. So I guess what occurs to me is similar to what I was just talking about, but a little different. I think that there's a sort of a deep-seated unrest at how many of the things that we use in our lives are made by other people in other countries on other parts of the planet and are so far removed from us. I think that people sort of miss the whole experience of making things that they need. And so I think part of what is appealing is that I use a lot of both old and new technology to make things. I have a reverence for old tools. I think a lot of people have a reverence for old tools. And I think the whole mantra of making and craftsmanship and self-reliance and preparation, I think resonates with people in this modern era where we're connected into a web that nobody understands, that our lives depend on. And so I think that when I bring things to people that connect them with how things really come into existence, I think that scratches an itch.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And, I know, Nate, you mentioned just previously, just a few minutes ago, about the monetization. And, as I was doing the research for this week's episode and our conversation that we were going to have, I, stumbled upon that you guys now have a Patreon page, and you've got, people who are supporting you over there, which I know you guys find to be as amazing as I do when people support me on Patreon and other fan funding sites. But, this is a side hustle for you guys. It's not like it's your full-time gig as of yet. If it continues to grow, maybe it will be. But Nate, you're in the real estate business now. Scott, you've done construction now for decades. Nate, what do you think going forward? Like, what are you guys looking to do? I mean, are you monetizing the videos with the AdSense program? Are you looking to find maybe sponsors to come onto the show and maybe for you guys to do reviews? And I mean, coming from a YouTube consultant, and I work with a lot of YouTube channels, I could think of a lot of different ideas for your YouTube channel. But what are you guys planning to do to monetize and continue to try to make money from the channel?
Yeah, good question. We do have a lot of ideas, and I would say all of them are in second priority to just making good videos. We give that our first amount of effort. But aside from that, our plan is to eventually release ebooks and digital content. We have a lot of, or I should say, my dad has a lot of information that is really valuable that I think people would be happy to pay $1 or $2 for. That I think could amount to some earning for us. Also, products and sponsorships and stuff. We're not quite sure how to think about that because, like you said, he likes old tools and the tools that are tried and true. I should say the tools and the companies that he knows he's worked with for decades. We'd love to work with them, but I don't see us being a channel that will fit well with just promoting and marketing, new tools and products that we don't have a lot of experience with. So yeah, we turned to AdSense on at the beginning of the year, and honestly, we've been surprised how, not that it makes a lot, but it does trickle in a few dollars that pays for some of our costs. And in terms of monetizing it, it is a side hustle, but we've both been pretty I'd say shocked at how much time it's taken from us. Luckily, my real estate, I'm kind of in preparation of a real estate development, so I've had a few months where my schedule is a little looser, and so the timing has fit well that I've been able to put a lot of time in this. But for a side hustle, it does take a good amount of time, and so we're hopeful that maybe next year at some point it'll be something that will, make a little money, even just to kind of pay for itself, because we really love doing it and we'd like to keep doing it. But if it doesn't, pay some sort of bills, it'll just kind of have to stay a hobby, and that'd be sad for us and probably for some viewers as well. So that's why we're listening to your show, Dusty, is to figure out how to help it make some money.
Well, I will pay you guys later for saying that once we get off air for sure. But I think this is, you guys and your story is the reason why I love doing what I do, and it is why I love talking to creators, because, this channel, Essential Craftsman, has brought you guys together, and it's allowed you to work together as a family, as a father and son duo. And, it is an art, as Scott said earlier, and it is fun to get together. And coming from someone who I also do wedding videography and some other stuff as well. And when I make those films for those brides and those grooms, it is, in my mind, a masterpiece and something that I try to work from beginning to end. And it does take passion, and it does, like you said, Nate, it takes so much time, a lot more time than people would even think that it takes. And so I guess for me, the question that I want to ask you guys next, and Scott, we'll start with you and then we'll go to Nate, is that for the future of this channel, you've already got amassed 40 some odd videos, and you're getting over 4 million views. What do you think you guys see for the future of this channel? Like, what are some ideas and what are some visions, Scott, that you have that you'd like to see you and Nate do on the Essential Craftsman YouTube channel?
Cool. So right off the bat, we're going to be bringing a lot more content about things that come out of the blacksmith shop: swords and knives and axes and tomahawks and Damascus steel. I have done a lot of that, and I intend to be able to that has such a universal appeal. So a lot more individual projects, start to finish, out of the blacksmith shop. We're also going to do some of that around construction, some of the jobs that I continue to take with my construction business, document step by step throughout the whole process, so people can get a comprehensive, kind of a global understanding of how some projects come into existence. We're going to do some vlogging. I have some things to say about life skills generally, and what being a man can look like and should look like, and what being a father can look like and should look like. So, both the nuts and bolts, real world, individual projects, start to finish sort of thing, and a little more conversation about some perspectives that could be helpful. I think that's that's several of the strategies that we're looking at moving forward.
I love that. And Nate, how about you?
I can't remember where I heard it, but some guest on some show talked about their strategy of just kicking up as much dust as possible and waiting for people to take notice. I think that's kind of our approach. We're trying to really just put out as much interesting and valuable content as we can. When we first started, we were thinking occasionally, like, oh, I wonder if we're going to run out of things to talk about and show, but it's actually been quite the opposite. The more videos we make, our list of video ideas keeps getting longer and longer. So I'd say for the future for us, we're going to just really release as much high quality, interesting, and valuable information as we can. And hopefully somebody and people take notice and are able to, introduce us to some new opportunities to, put my dad in front of other people and settings. I'm sure he probably would do really well in live settings, in classes and such. And I would say we don't know what we don't know, but this YouTube kind of came out of left field for us, and I expect, looking back, it'll be hard to predict where it will go for us, but we're gonna just keep on making the best videos we can, and hopefully something good will come of it.
Yeah, the way that normally works is that when you produce more videos, you have comments from your viewers and your passionate fan base, and they give you more ideas. So what happens is one video turns into 2, and then 4, and then 8. Yeah, it's just kind of how it works, and I love that part about content creation. Now, let me ask you both, and we'll start with Nate this time. If there's someone out there, Nate, a content creator, and they're thinking about starting a YouTube channel, or they've already started a YouTube channel, what would be one piece of advice that you would give them that you just, you wish someone would have told you when you first started out on YouTube?
It's funny, my dad and I released a video about 8 years ago or 9 years ago, the first one we ever did, and I was in college at the time, and we released on a different channel. That video is still out there. I think back, what if we would have, kept making them starting back then? So my answer would be, if a person thinks they might, want to make videos, they should just put a couple out there and get started. The sooner, the better. If we had started in a serious way 8 years ago, we would have, been a part of the previous generation of YouTubers that are, pretty big and well established. And it probably wouldn't have worked for us at the time anyways. But I would say for your listeners, just grab your smartphone and just film a couple videos and put them out there and post them on your Facebook and just, get started. And that's really the number one, probably most important thing I could say.
Yeah, it probably makes you sick just to think about like how many, how big your channel could be if you would have started back then. I know me personally, I opened my channel in 2013, but really didn't get serious with it until I graduated college, 3 years later. And I just wish I would have known what I know now. But Scott, how about you? What piece of advice would you give?
Okay. I think the first piece of advice is if you have the option, collaborate with a loved one, because this has given Nathan and I just an incredible range of now shared interests and topics to talk about. And that's hard to do with a grown son. I mean, because your lives are so divergent, now we have something that absorbs both of us equally. And so that's my first piece of advice. You thinking about starting a YouTube channel? The first thing I think you ought to think about is whether or not you have a loved one who has a slightly different skill set than yours that would enhance your skill set. Collaborate with them. It's going to sweeten the whole deal. The second thing is, don't get so caught up in the sort of the whirlwind of doing it that you forget to enjoy the process. That the whole thing of creating like this in a completely new genre is magic. It is magic, and it's a mistake not to enjoy it. And then the third thing is, like Nate says, start. And it's like anything else. I mean, if you don't know how to build a portable sawmill, just start. Just build it. If you don't know how to install a light fixture, just start. Just do it. And by the time you get to the end, you're going to be pretty good at it. Well, take that philosophy to your YouTube interest also and see what happens.
There's really nothing that I can add to that. I think you guys really wrapped it up in a pretty bow for me. I think you guys had some really good points and tips. And guys, if you're listening to this episode, I would rewind back to what both of them just said and really write that down as in your journal or in your Evernote page, wherever you keep important points, because I really believe everything they said is extremely crucial to not only success on YouTube, but just success in business in general. Now, the last thing that I wanted to focus on is that I think that, as I mentioned at the top of the show, and Scott, you just mentioned it briefly in your previous answer, but I find it so intriguing and interesting that you guys are doing this together as a family, as a father and a son. And as you mentioned, sometimes as our kids grow older, it's harder and we become more distant just because of our lives get busier. And I know me personally, I wish I could communicate and talk to my grandmother, more than I do, but our lives are so distant. But being able to do this together, Nate, as a family, to do it with your father, to have the common interest that you do, what do you think that element has added to your YouTube channel?
Well, it's really everything. We're a good example of a channel that wouldn't exist without both of us. I could never teach and do and show the things that my dad knows. Nobody could. And at the same time, he couldn't do this channel by himself, both in terms of filming and the cam work and the editing. That's not that he couldn't learn it, but there's only so many hours in a day. So the channel wouldn't exist without both of us. It's really been a blessing. Like he said, our relationship is totally different now in all the best ways. And it's a neat way to think about it. If a person has an idea for a channel, or I should say, if they might have one set of skills, maybe the video and the production side, maybe they could there's a lot of good channels out there where it's just someone interviewing lots of different people. A YouTube channel doesn't just mean you have to be the face behind the camera and have a lot of charisma and be very entertaining. If that's something you don't have, but you have everything else, you can still make a great channel. So it's really been just a thrill for us. And like I said, we are a small channel, but we've been really excited with the growth. When we had like 1,000 subscribers, I remember when we hit that number, we were just so pumped. It felt so cool, and it feels just as exciting now. We just hit 60,000, and it's just as big a thrill. And so I kind of expect it'll kind of keep that way. And it's just really been a blast. And we hope we can make it something that we can do for a long time, because it really is rewarding, and our viewers seem to think so. We definitely get really positive feedback, and that certainly keeps us motivated.
And one of the final questions I want to ask directed at you, Scott, is that when it comes to this content, not to get morbid or anything, but in 50 years, 60 years, when if something happens and you're no longer here with us, how important do you think it is that this content and your information that you're putting out on these videos is documented, and people will be able to go back for years, and Nate and his family will be able to go back and look at this content and to learn and to savor some of those skills that you've learned over the years?
Okay, so that is actually the big question of this interview. And so as I get older, I turn into a weeper. So if my voice starts to quaver, and if you can level that out, I mean, that would be awesome. But the fact is, the family history aspect of this and what this does for conveying my message to my posterity and who I was, it pales everything else. I mean, I don't care whatever happens with monetization. The fact that my grandkids right now are asking their parents, can I watch a Papa movie? How do you quantify that? How can you put a value on that? And the fact is that my great-grandkids and great-great-grandkids will have the same experience. I cannot articulate to you the impact that I hope that has on my people. And so this is a blessing that I could have never anticipated. I'm so grateful to Nate for having this concept and making it happen. And I expect great good to come from it for my people and hopefully for other families as well.
What a special time I've had with you guys. I've had a lot of people on this show, and I've talked to a lot of people in my other podcast. This definitely ranks up there with one of my favorite shows that I've ever been able to record, and a lot of it is pulling at my heartstrings, obviously, because of the conversations that we've had, and I'm a big family person, and I think that you guys just really, you implement, you put it out there. You don't just talk the talk, but you walk the walk. And Nate, I hope you understand how blessed you are and how fortunate you are to have your dad do something this special with you, and just to have this content out there forever, and the videos out there for you to go back on and to look on, and just the concept of your grandkids wanting to watch a Papa video, and all of that, to me, just really ties up why I do what I do, and as a creator, as an artist, it really allows us to see. A lot of times people get down on the internet and they say that the internet is a bad place, and it stifles good, and it puts out a lot of bad negativity. But you guys are showing the complete opposite of that. And Nate and Scott, I just want you to know from the bottom of my heart just how much it means to me that you would come on the show, you would talk about your content. And I guess in closing, I just want to ask both of you. We'll start with Nate, and then Scott, you can close us out. But is there any final words you want to say to the creators out there who are listening to this like you are on a weekly basis?
No, I'd say just keep at it, have fun with it, be creative. There's a lot of things on the internet, but there's unlimited room for new things. So be creative. Don't be afraid to try something that maybe hasn't been done before, and most of all, have a blast. We're at the time in the internet where things are growing and changing, and we don't know where they'll go. So I would say just jump on and enjoy being a part of this generation, with the internet being such a neat and social and special experience for so many people all over the world. Yeah.
So I ditto. This is one of the cool things. I'm discovering how much my son and I see things, important things, alike. But I would just add to that when a creator comes to YouTube with the intention of putting something out there for the world, try to remember that you have a responsibility to do some good. And now whatever that means for you, I can't give you the answer to that, but look at this platform as a way to draw some people together, inspire some people to do some worthwhile things, find a way to do some good with this new overwhelming medium.
Well, guys, I have thoroughly enjoyed our time together, Scott and Nate, and I hope to have you guys back on for some creator roundtables where we talk about specific things. I really would love to keep you guys on my contact list and have you guys come on a show at a future date. But can you let my audience know, Nate, where they can get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, we're working on a new website that will kind of encompass our channel. For the time being, I would say send us a message on our YouTube channel, which is Essential Craftsman, or an email at essentialcraftsman.com, and hopefully very soon we'll have a little stronger web presence where it'll be easier for people to reach out. But at this time, our whole world is on YouTube. Find our channel, send a message, and we're really happy to get in touch with anybody. And like I said, thanks for having us on the show, Dusty, as well. This is the first time we've done anything like this, and we've got a lot of value here, so hopefully some of your viewers have maybe learned a thing or two from us.
Absolutely. And guys, as with every week, all of the information and links from Scott and Nate's channel, Essential Craftsman, will be in the show notes, and you can click on those and go check them out. I highly recommend it, even if you're not looking to build something or to get into the niche that they're in. I just recommend you go over there, and after listening to this show, just see what they're doing, because they're doing something right. Guys, again, thank you for coming on, and I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Dusty.
You've been listening to the YouTube Creators Podcast. We want to thank you and invite you to subscribe to the show, as well as support us on Patreon for great perks, such as having your YouTube channel featured on the show and a link on our website. Until next time.